Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the most unbelievable Bigfoot encounter that has ever come forward. Now, Tuesday was the 41st anniversary of the Mount St. Helens eruption back in 1980 in the state of Washington. And what we are specifically going to talk about is a tale of U.S. Army personnel and National Guardsmen who assisted in locating and recovering multiple Bigfoot bodies that were victims of the eruption. Now, I made a video about this story about a year ago where I briefly shared my thoughts on it, but I thought it'd be fun to look at it again after reading so many articles about the eruption the other day. Throughout this video, you'll see some incredible footage of the eruption itself that, really shows the crazy amount of destruction that occurred in that wilderness area. No doubt, if there were indeed Bigfoot creatures around Mount St. Helens during that time, there's gotta be some that didn't make it out alive. So Mount St. Helens has been the epicenter for many Sasquatch reports and encounters, and the most famous one is the Ape Canyon incident, where an aggressive group of Sasquatch attacked a group of miners after they allegedly shot one of them. This appeared to be a violent retaliation to that shooting. It's definitely one of the most famous and dangerous clashes between Bigfoot and humans. However, the story I'm going to talk about is one that describes an interesting relationship between Bigfoot and military personnel. A complete 180 from the Ape Canyon incident. Back in 2012, an individual apparently came out and claimed that he was a National Guardsman who was part of a group of 5 that was brought in to assist another Army group, the Army Corps of Engineers, with the mission of locating wounded Bigfoot creatures and also recovering and disposing of the dead bodies of these creatures. Now, right off the bat, this sounds extremely far-fetched. Apparently, this individual and the other guardsmen would follow behind an army truck in a jeep and go from cave to cave with a surviving Bigfoot who was riding in the back of the truck. The Bigfoot would communicate in his own language and work with the army to track down these wounded creatures and recover them from these rocky cave sites. The US Army was already apparently moving the remains of other dead animals using helicopters and cargo nets, and that was observed by multiple witnesses. And Sasquatch were among these animals. It's said that around 5 or 6 Sasquatch were recovered. Apparently where this all happened, there was a little camp set up with tents and soldiers that were actually armed. And the National Guardsmen were told to keep quiet and not say anything and to basically just follow the orders, and do the job. The weirdest thing about the story is that there was apparently a man who looked more like a civilian who was communicating with the Bigfoot that was, alive, the one that was riding in the back of the truck. And this person apparently knew the Sasquatch language, could actually speak to them and understand them. And this would imply that, the government has known about Sasquatch already and probably for a long time if they had been able to, figure out how to speak with them and communicate. Yeah, so basically the guardsmen in the jeep would follow the truck and they would drive to rocky areas with caves, and then the Bigfoot and the interpreter guy would walk to the caves with the guardsmen following them, and they would try to call out wounded Bigfoot. And apparently this happened 5 times. In the story, there was one Bigfoot that was found that was pretty badly wounded, and it actually had to be put down by the soldiers. There was one that had a severely burned leg, and the soldiers actually had to use a giant stretcher of some kind to carry it to the truck. I can't even imagine it being possible for humans to carry a full-grown Sasquatch on a stretcher. I feel like it would be extremely awkward, and the weight of the creature would probably be more than what you would imagine. Probably around 1,000 pounds. Maybe even more if the Sasquatch are muscled up as much as people say. They probably weigh more than most estimates due to muscle weighing more than fat. So I feel like it would just make more sense for the other surviving Sasquatch creature to help them get this thing into the truck instead of just letting the human beings do it. The Sasquatch is powerful and strong, so it would make that job significantly easier. I don't know. It just doesn't really make sense to me. And they supposedly got this wounded Sasquatch, back to the camp. They moved it into a tent. And after all this happened, the National Guardsmen were debriefed and they were told never to speak about what had happened or what they saw. Which kind of makes me think, like, why did they even bring in these random 5 National Guardsmen in the first place? Just some random guys. Like, why couldn't they find 5 other guys who were, working more closely, with the Army Corps of Engineers, or who were directly, like, involved in this mission? Or these, like, kind of off the books missions or black operations, It just seems odd to me that they would bring in 5 random guys to witness this stuff. They couldn't find, like, 5 people who are part of some more, like, secret unit or, like, some sort of special forces. But it was just like, no, we'll bring in these 5, National Guardsmen who are just random people, and they can witness this. That seems really odd to me when I think about it. I feel like a really secret operation like this, where they don't want people to know about Bigfoot, they would use other people who are, more involved and experienced in clandestine operations. But, what do I know? It's just suspicious to me. An interesting fact, though, is that not long prior to the eruption of Mount St. Helens, the Army Corps of Engineers actually placed Bigfoot in their book called the Washington Environmental Atlas. And it's basically a book describing the geography and the wildlife of Washington and all the natural history. And basically, in one section, talked about Bigfoot being a creature that could potentially exist in the area. Now, people actually took this publishing as fact and thought it was proof that the government actually acknowledged Bigfoot's existence. But the reality, though, is that the creation of the atlas actually involved outsourcing authors and writers who had, took it upon themselves to add Bigfoot into the atlas, not on behalf of the Army Corps of Engineers. So it wasn't really the Army Corps of Engineers themselves who put the Bigfoot creature in that book. So I kind of feel like somebody probably created this whole story after finding out that Bigfoot was mentioned in the atlas, which is about the natural history of Washington, where the eruption occurred, and thought it would easily fool people to come up with this crazy story. There's only been one person to ever come forward with an account, and this person has 0 evidence to back it up. And the fact of the matter is that people have many times fabricated fascinating Bigfoot stories for many different reasons, and people will continue to do so. And it makes it really hard to separate fact from fiction, as all the made-up stories get mixed together with the true encounters. So, it's kind of like the Columbus Day Storm story. That one, at first glance, seems very crazy and interesting, and seems like it could be real, and then you dig deeper into it, and you find out that it's 99.9% likely that it's made up, and I believe it is made up, but, it involves civilians, it involves the military and Bigfoot bodies, and it's similar to this in that sense, that it's, about the recovery of Bigfoot bodies and the government covering stuff up. So, I don't know, real or not, it's a fun story. It would make a good novel or a good movie. But unfortunately, I personally can't accept it as fact without any kind of evidence to back it up. But, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think this is a true story? I did make a video not that long ago saying that if there are Bigfoot bodies out there somewhere in the wilderness, they're probably around Mount St. Helens. But was the military actually out there recovering the bodies? I mean, there's no documentation of that of any kind, which, I guess if you're doing some sort of black operation, there wouldn't be. But, I feel like the priority of that eruption would be to recover human bodies. Because many people did die in that eruption, and that takes precedence over, Sasquatch. So I guess anything is possible, I can't say that this didn't happen because, there's no proof of that either. But odds are that this is a made-up story. So that's all I have for you guys. If you want to support Mountain Beast Mysteries, you can do so using the GoFundMe link in the video description. Thanks for watching this video. We'll see you next time on Mountain Beast Mysteries.